Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. It is really wonderful to be able to have a space and a time to speak to people who share a similar passion with me. As in my experience, it's been rather difficult as a student to find a group of willing adults who are here to help and listen, because sometimes some of the stuff that I would like to do isn't the most, easy. So let me take you back a little bit. When I was 10 years old, in 5th grade, my wardrobe consisted of flower-printed swim trunks, XL t-shirts, bright green Crocs, shoulder-length hair, and baby fat that lasted a little bit too long. When I was in 5th grade, I was a rather sheltered child, as most of us are in South Pasadena. And so when my friend came to me and told me about their experience being bullied, I was filled with rage. It was something that I hadn't felt that often in my life, as I was a privileged young student in South Pasadena. And so when I felt that, I had it. It was in me. It filled me to every part of my body, and I didn't know what to do with it. A little known fact about me: I lead with my feelings. Everything I do is kind of a way for me to express the way that I'm feeling and what I really want to communicate. So when I had that rage in me in 5th grade rage, which is the worst kind, I didn't know what to do with it. So I started something called the Peace Team. I didn't put that in my bio because now it's a little silly to think about, but what it was an anti-bullying organization. I don't have this on my resume, but by the end of my 5th grade year, every student on my elementary school campus had signed a pledge to help stop bullying. How effective that was, I have no idea. But what is important is that I, with my rage, with my feelings that I just have to communicate, I created a space for students to feel comfortable talking about bullying, to feel comfortable talking about these things that we don't really talk about. So when I went to middle school, I joined the Associated Student Body, and when my advisor came to me and she said, "Hey, do you want to help people?" I said, "Yes." And so we started the middle school peer mediation organization, the Upstanders. There we focus not only on peer mediation, but on creating events for students to talk about intolerance, to talk about communication, to talk about acceptance on our middle school campus. And in that middle school environment, which is another just lovely time for an individual, I learned really what it means to have a space to speak. To have a group of people who agree with you, who understand what you're trying to communicate. Because in elementary school and middle school, every time I tried to bring up bullying or acceptance and tolerance, conflict resolution, I was met with a lot of, I was met with a lot of confusion from not only adults, but my peers as well. So when I came to the high school and I saw those pressures of college, AP classes, extracurriculars, trying to get into Harvard, which no one does, I saw that was needed more than ever. And so when there was no organization that was addressing mental health issues or conflict resolution issues or issues within oneself, I knew that we had to start one. Ms. Ishimaru already told you that story, so I won't go into those details. But the events that we put on are really to give students a space to feel like they belong. To feel like regardless of what has happened to them or what is happening to them, somebody cares about them. I think a lot of times students, including myself, see us in a pool of other students. We are just a mass of individuals that are being served by our administrators, our teachers. But that's really not true. There are people on every high school campus that care about each individual student. For example, Ms. Ishimaru, and everybody in this room, I'm sure. So what I wanted to do with these events, with the peer mediation organization, with the peer support that we just introduced last month, is ensure that every single student knows that they have a space where they can go, feel welcome, and talk about whatever they need to talk about. So for me, peer mediation, peer support, programs like these aren't just about learning these communication skills and conflict resolution skills, though that is a very large part of it. It's about creating, developing, and fostering a community where everyone can feel welcome and accepted and comfortable. So though my wardrobe may have been stepped up a little bit from Crocs, I still have the same drive, the same motive. And that is to make everyone that I can feel like they matter, feel like they have a space to belong and to speak. And I would like to end with a quote from the overlord himself, which is, 2 years ago, he came to one of our 7 a.m. meetings very early. He probably left his house at like 5:30 a.m. I'm so sorry. And he came and he spoke about peer mediation, about what we were doing. And he said, conflict is inevitable. Combat is a choice. And so when you go back to your schools or wherever you may reside, take that with you, please, and understand that it's important to give students a space and those tools to realize that combat is not the only option when there are different parties who have different beliefs. Thank you so much.
Right.